Okay, okay. Hello world, this is me. Yes, so hello world. It is April. It is like over halfway through April, and I'm just now gonna do my March wrap up. But you know what? There's still the books I read in March, regardless when I film and upload this. So I'm still gonna talk about them. So I didn't actually read that much, so maybe that's why I didn't do this sooner. But let's talk. So the first thing I read was Private Lives by Noel Coward, which is actually a play. So I wanted to read this because it was being referenced a lot in acting books and I just didn't know it was happening. So I read it, and it's a comedy, and I don't know if it's aged that well, but maybe just in the performance it's fine. Basically, we follow these two couples that are both on their honeymoons, but respectively the husband and the groom from the opposite couples are exes. And they rekindle and they run away together. And so this is kind of like, I guess, just pointed farce about how we want the people we don't necessarily get along with the best. Like that we have that banter with, which I'm like, okay, yeah, we don't want the person that's just like perfect. And so then the spouses that they run away from come and confront them, and it's just a bit chaotic. But the exes that have rekindled end up getting like violent with each other, and apparently this happened before, and I think it's just meant to be in the spirit of like, haha, how funny. But I'm also like, domestic abuse, no. So I'm a bit mixed about it, but I could see how it could be funny. I think it just depends. This was written like, I want to say about 80 years ago, somewhere in the 30s, I'm guessing. And there is like a pro shot of this play, so I might try and watch that and see what I reckon. I gave that 2 stars because I think like I could kind of see, but like just off reading it, I'm not gung-ho about it. Anyway, next I read an actual book. It was a book I couldn't not read, and I'm matching my book a bit, which was A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas. And I love this so much. It is big, it is long, but it is worth it. I gave this a 5 stars, like straight away. I didn't even need to think about it. I know some of the complaints have been that there's not enough plot in here, but I think there's still plot. And also this is the beginning of a new arc, because there's going to be the beginning of a new kind of spin-off series. So I'm not really mad about that. The character development in here is stellar. I wasn't the biggest fan of Nesta before this book, but now I am. And we really get to see into her mind. There's obviously some angst. There's a lot of kind of trauma and overcoming trauma. So I guess if you're going through a hard time, if you don't think you can handle reading this, maybe don't. But also, it is ultimately very uplifting, and I would recommend it. And I think, I can't speak for everyone, but since the pandemic, as well as just things in my personal life, this is the book I needed. I needed some girl boss overcoming bestie energy. Like, I don't even think the romance is the best part of this. The best part of this is Nesta becoming a more adjusted individual and learning to love herself, I guess. Yeah, so I think I will reread this at some point. I just don't know when. But I did reread the entire ACOTAR trilogy leading up to this, so it might be a while till I reread the whole thing. But I'm very pleased with this, and I'm really excited to see what book comes next, Sarah. The next book I read was Teardrop by Lauren Kate. This was a reread for me. This has been out for a very long time. When I read it the first time, I wasn't that fussed, and the second time I was even more not fussed. It's just kind of one of those supernatural romance, paranormal romance, I don't know what the difference is, from like the early 2010s era. But I must say it was like very like quick and easy to read. It was very trashy. I'm not usually a trash hater. I love something that's a bit like, look, it's not good, but I like it. Like, I like reality TV. But even like, this is borderline for me. Also, this is just saying the trend I'm seeing so much with it's like in specifically romance, like fantasy romance, where we just have very problematic love interests, and I'm not about it. Like I guess there are some things that can be explained away, or like, oh, it's because of this. But if someone's just acting like a possessive piece of shit, I don't like it. I don't like it. Even if there's something supernatural going on, I'm just like, stop being a poo. And these two boys are fighting over her, but neither of them even really showing enough of a good side for me to want her to pick either of them. This is like a very slow burn, and all the action really happens at the end. So just, and then there was just lots of like world building things that were just thrown in at the end, like, oh yeah, because it turns out A, B, and C. And I'm like, wait, what? You haven't explained it. You don't have time to explain it right at the end. And it's frustrating. Anyway, what this book is about, basically there is like this tribe, this clan of like siren mermaid people, I want to say. But they don't have tails or anything. And there's this big prophecy that there's going to be this girl. Guess who? And if she cries, it's going to fulfill this prophecy that she's going to flood the whole world and Atlantis is going to come back into power. But this clan is like, no, Atlantis is bad news. We don't want that. So they're trying to kill our main girl. Our love interest pops in from this clan where he was meant to kill her and then went, no, she's just so pretty and I love her, as you do. But so it ended kind of a bit of like an ooh, but I also don't know if I care enough to continue. But I also feel like because I've gone to the effort to reread this, I should at least try reading the next one. I am so bad at just like DNFing things. Ugh. So we'll see what happens. It gets to a point where I'm like, I have so many books that I'm more excited about that, I don't know, you know? I don't know. And I gave Teardrop a 2-star because it was just meh. After that, I read another play, which was Bluebird by by Simon Stevens. If I'm wrong, I'll correct myself. But Simon Stevens. And I gave it a 4 stars. It's a more contemporary play about this taxi driver. And so the first, I want to say 3/4 or so, is kind of vignettes of him with his different fares and their life stories and this, that, the other. And it's a bit kind of like, okay. But it all kind of boils down when we find out something tragic that happened in this man's life, and he rekindles, he has a meeting with his ex-wife, and there's a big exchange there, and the ending is ultimately like a bittersweet, thought-provoking. So I liked it. I'd like to see this on stage. I don't know if all of it like was necessary to the story, but it was still good. And the last book I read in March was Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. I liked this. I think I liked Chain of Gold better than I liked this one. I gave it a 3 stars, so it was still good. I do, based on other people's opinions I've heard so far, they were like, it's the best, and I'm like, not necessarily. Some of the angst was the same angst from the other book, so it just kind of felt a bit like some things didn't really develop or go anywhere. I did love the whole fake marriage trope, and I'm just waiting for these characters to get their shit together and just be happy with each other. Also, a love triangle was kind of pushed further in this book, which I'm not happy about. Also Lucy Herondale is making a lot of dumb decisions. Grace is still being terrible. Tatiana just needs to die. And we introduced a new villain right at the end. And I'm like, that wasn't a cliffhanger. I'm like, what's going on? And not in a, what's going on? I'm like, what? What? So yeah, basically I hope there's some big consequences for our characters in the next book, because I believe this is just another trilogy. I will still read whatever Cassandra Clare comes out with because I just enjoy this world and I'm so deep in that there's no chance I'm coming out. Yeah, I must say there were some good like twists in this book and I enjoyed that. It did take me a while to read, but also it's a big one, so that is kind of why. Yeah, so that's what I read in March. Hopefully this gets to you before the end of April, but we shall see. As per usual, I'm inundated with books. I'm probably not going to have many books for April, but you know, as long as I'm reading, I'm a happy chappy. And I hope you've been reading, and if not, that you find a book that is everything. Goodbye. Have a good day. go enjoy a nice cup of tea.